Good evening. My name is Don Ficken. I'm with the Library Telescope program. I'm joined by Tom Lynch. He's been one of our co-leaders. He runs the Facebook page, and I tend to run meetings and do the website, things like that. We've been hosting this program. It's a webinar once a month for quite a long time. We're trying to promote the Library Telescope program and share best practices. We have a worldwide, actually, group of libraries involved. We've been tracking this. We get a library, they will register with us, and we'll put them on a worldwide map. If you go to librarytelescope.org, you can, and to the locations, you can actually click, for example, into Canada or the USA and get a respective province or state, and then drill down, and it'll show the libraries that we have listed for that we at least know about. And in Europe, we have the Netherlands and the United Kingdom involved. So we're getting quite a large group of participating libraries, and that's really very exciting. Before we get our program started, I want to just alert you, if you've not heard about it before, that we have a Library Telescope program set aside the week of October 9th and 16th of this year. If you go to librarytelescope.org, you can get a flyer that you can distribute to your library. Again, we're just simply trying to promote this program, and it's just a great week to be able to focus on. You'll be able to see stuff like craters on the moon and the moons of Jupiter, rings of Saturn during that week. So it'll be a really fun time. Those are excellent objects for the Library Telescope to be able to operate. And I am recording this seminar, this webinar tonight, and it will be posted on YouTube later. And it, of course, will be on Facebook Live. So tonight's program is on May 18th, obviously today, is about spring constellation targets and for telescopes and binoculars. And we've already lined up next month's program, which is on June 15th. It's about the same time every month. And it's kind of exciting. The City of Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory in California is launched a new program. They have something like 27 library telescopes. That's a pretty amazing feat when you can't really get good equipment anymore. And there's a lot of issues just making things happen. So I suggest that you check that out. And if you've not checked out our Facebook page, Tom Lynch does a terrific job. He's been building this over a long time. We've got something like 3,000 followers. You can go to facebook.com/library telescope. And if you're starting to build a program or start a program, or just want to find best practices, you can go to librarytelescope.org. We've got a lot of resources out there. In fact, recently we've been doing 3D printing of parts and things like that. You can get 3D, basically schematics, if you will, to be able to print on your 3D printer. And as I mentioned before, any of the programs that we recorded over the last several years, if you go to our librarytelescope.org, and the very top right, you can go to our YouTube channel, and you can actually watch those. Okay, so those are really great resources between the videos we have on the YouTube, past best practices, just all kinds of events over time. Even tonight, for example, how to use telescopes to find spring constellations. You'll find it's a lot of fun. So we'll be recording this, and we'll be taking questions at the end. So we'll be posting those to, if you have a question, if you're on Zoom, you could put in the Q&A. If you're on Facebook, you can put it in the comments area, and we'll try to collect those questions in the end, and then we'll give them to Rocky, and we'll do our best job to respond to those. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And Rocky Togni has been a regular presenter on our program here, and he's going to be talking about spring constellations. He's done a great job before us, and I think you're going to find that the Library Telescope has really got some great power. It looks like a toy, but it's really not. You can see a lot of stuff with it. So Rocky, if you can give us your screen, and I'll turn the program over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about spring constellations and try to teach you how to go out and find them and identify them, and the bright stars that go along with them. And then when you learn that, it'll be you'll be able to use your library telescope to find some of them, hopefully, some of the objects that I give you. And there'll be a list of objects at the end, and other things, constellations and bright stars to look for, so that you can have your little checklist. I like checklists. So spring is a neat time. One reason is because you can, in this, you can see how the Big Dipper moves. This is in the evening when you're most likely to be out observing. You can see the Big Dipper is straight up overhead in the evening. If you've been out lately, you've seen it straight up. It's almost directly overhead for a couple of hours every night, right after dark. And and we're going to use the Big Dipper to find the start with. So that'll be your first point of orientation is to find the Big Dipper, and just look straight up. And this kind of reversed it a little bit because this view is looking north toward the North Star, and this view is looking south, where where the constellations will be concentrating on mainly are located. So again, you may have to look just straight up to see Ursa Major, but you start by and to find the spring diamond. Let me talk about asterisms and constellations a little bit. You can see that Ursa Major is a fairly big constellation, but the Big Dipper makes up a small part of it, and it's made up of really bright stars and easy to recognize. And we're going to be talking some about an asterism is not a complete constellation. So it's a group of stars that looks like something. So we're mainly going to be talking about the spring diamond tonight and how to find and a little bit about the constellations and stars that are in the spring diamond. So to find the spring diamond, you just find the handle of the Big Dipper, and you make an arc to Arcturus. So I forget what that's called, a mnemonic or something like that. So the arc helps you remember the name Arcturus, and then from there you speed on to Spica, and that gives you two of the main points of the spring diamond. And I want to talk just a little bit real quick about star magnitudes. The brightest stars are first magnitude. Sirius is actually minus 1, but the rest of them, these are first magnitude, and there's like 21 first magnitude stars, and only 16 are visible to us in the northern hemisphere. And 2 of them are Arcturus and Spica, and they give you a signpost kind of to help you learn the stars and to find constellations and things. I like to look at them right after dark as they're coming out and figure out what they are. Usually I kind of know what direction they're in, but it's nice to watch the stars coming out and see which ones see the ones coming out first, or the first magnitude stars. So from there, we made the arc to Arcturus, speed on to Spica. You come up to Denebola, which is the tail of Leo the Lion. And then the 4th star is Corcoroli at the top. And so that's the top of the diamond. So we use the Big Dipper to find basically those 4 stars in the spring diamond. And in a minute, we'll talk about those constellations and finding some objects in those constellations. First, I want to go back to the North Star and the Big Dipper. And you can find the North Star by using the pointer stars of the Big Dipper and finding Polaris, which is going to be, if you know which direction is north, it's going to be about 35 degrees. Well, for me, it's 35 degrees. It's going to be whatever your declination is above the horizon. And so on my checklist, I've got the Big Dipper and Polaris, and I've also got these 2 galaxies right here, M81 and M82. There's not a lot of galaxies that are bright enough for the library telescope, but these are 2 that are, and they'll both fit in the same field of view, and they're just a really nice view. And you can find them by using the Big Dipper again and coming across the diagonal of those 2 stars, Alpha, I forget what this one is, and about that same distance. And you've got a big field of view in your library telescope, so usually you can find that pretty easy. And and another object that's on your list is Mizar and Alcor. Mizar and Alcor is a double star in the handle of the Big Dipper, and it's actually in ancient times and let's say Arabia, it was known as the horse and the rider. And if you could see Alcor naked eye, then you had good enough eyesight to join the army. So, but if you look at Mizar and Alcor through a telescope, it's actually 4 stars. And Mizar is a real close, very pretty double star in itself. So that's a neat object to look at, and it's easy to find, being in the handle of the Big Dipper. And here's Mizar and Alcor, and you can't really see the double that, but you can see it in your telescope. But this double here, and then this is Alcor. This is Mizar and Alcor, and that's another star that's in between them. And here's the M81 and M82, and one of them is a galaxy on its edge, and the other is a galaxy. You won't straight on like this, but they won't be this pretty. This is pictures. Pictures bring out a lot more detail, but you'll be able to tell the cigar shape on one of them and the round shape on the other one, and it is a nice object. And the whirlpool is also a nice bright object if you want to go a little farther into that. Okay, the first constellation we got to, Arcturus. Remember, the arc to Arcturus is Boötes, and Boötes is a nice kind of, it looks like a kite, and that's how I see it, as a kite, even with it has a tail. But Boötes was a herdsman or a plowman driving oxen. He was also known as a bear driver, driving the bears around the pole star. He's also right next to him is Corona, neat half circle, Corona Borealis, the northern crown with a bright star. Arcturus is an orange star, and your stars have colors. And Arcturus is an orange star, the 4th brightest star, and it's 37 light years away. And it's neat to look at through your telescope or binoculars, and you can see that you can actually see the color naked eye. It's bright enough for that. And most of the other bright stars are blue or blue-white, and you can compare it pretty easily. Okay, we'll go back to the just the spring diamond to show you where Arcturus, and now we're going on to Virgo. And Virgo, this is from Uranometria that was published back in the it was a set of cards published back in the 1820s, and it was very attractive. And this is kind of maps they drew back then, and they're not very, I mean, they're very attractive and pretty, but they're not very practical for looking at stars, really. But they're still very interesting, and they have constellations that aren't in our list of constellations today, like Mons, Manalis, and Noctua there. But anyway, when you find Virgo, first we know how to find Spica, and if you look above Spica, it makes a little half circle here. So I look at this like as a champagne glass or a cup with a stem on it. Is how I view that. Another way to view it, and I found this in some old astronomy textbooks, is the diamond of Virgo. We're talking about the spring diamond. Well, here's another diamond, the Virgo's diamond. So anyway, Virgo is the let me think, I've got it written down here. She's seen as a maiden holding sheaves of wheat. It's also a zodiac constellation in the southern sky between Leo and Libra. And Spica actually means in Latin is Latin for the head of grain. Spica is the 15th brightest star in the sky at 1.04. And Virgo contains, you see all these little circles up here. These are all galaxies in Virgo, and they're not reachable with library telescope. But with bigger telescopes, a lot of people enjoy. This is galaxy season for astronomers. We're looking away from the Milky Way and up out the top of our galaxy, and there's not as much dark matter and stars to block our view, and we can really see a lot more clusters. But the Virgo cluster is one of the closest clusters of galaxies there. Okay, the next one they're going to look at is Corcoroli and Canis Venatici. And Corcoroli is a pretty easy constellation. It's just 2 stars basically. And Corcoroli is interesting in that it's one of the two things that I know are 2 stars, or one's a constellation we'll talk about in a minute, that are named after real people. And what it means is Heart of Charles. And back in about 1650, I think it was Charles I was beheaded when the Brits decided they wanted to, Oliver Cromwell, I think, to take over. So they went back to a monarchy about 1660. And the story goes that Sir Isaac Newton named this after Charles I. Corcoroli is one of your objects to look at through a telescope. It's a nice double star, blue and blue. And these are the hunting dogs, Boötes hunting dogs. And so nice, there's a really nice globular cluster, M3. That's pretty easy to find. It's about halfway between Corcoroli and Arcturus. M63 and M94 are galaxies that if you've got dark skies, they're reachable. They're not on my list of objects, but they're reachable with a library telescope if you've got dark skies. Okay, I wanted to show you where M3 is here. And you see Arcturus and Corcoroli, and it's almost right in the center between them. It's pretty easy to find if you, with binoculars, especially because you can just sweep the area. But it's also easy with a library telescope. It's a nice bright globular cluster. And there's a picture of a globular cluster, and Corcoroli, blue and white or blue and blue. Okay, the next one is the 4th star is Denebola. I don't have it labeled right here, but it's the tail of Leo the Lion. And Leo's a neat constellation in that it looks like what it's meant to be, a lion. And you got 2 sections of it. You got a question mark in the front with Regulus making the dot of the question mark, and a triangle for the tail. So it's real easy to see and identify. Regulus is a blue-white star. I think it's about the, I don't remember, 16th brightest star or something like that. 1.4, magnitude 1.4, it's about 78 light years away. So Leo's a neat constellation. And next we're gonna, back before, this is the other constellation that was named after a real person, Coma Berenices. And what it means is hair of Bernice. And Bernice was the queen of Cyrenaica, which is where Benghazi in Libya, that section of Libya right there. And anyway, she married Ptolemy IV of Egypt and went to live in Alexandria. And while she was there, she was a contemporary of Aristarchus and some other great scientists, Greek scientists, because Alexandria was had basically been, I guess, not taken over by Greece, but had a lot of Greek. They were running the library and stuff like that. Anyway, she was pretty and had long hair, and Ptolemy went off to war, and she promised the goddess Athena that if Ptolemy would be, she brought Ptolemy back safely, that she would donate her hair to her. Well, when Ptolemy came back, she cut her hair off and put it in Athena in her temple, and the next day her hair was gone, and they were really upset because they thought somebody had stolen her hair. But Conan, the astronomer, anyway, he said, no, wait, look up in the sky. They put your hair up in the sky. And he pointed out this group of stars right here, which is a pretty bright, big open cluster. And so That's where it gets its name, after Bernice of Cyrenaica and of Egypt. But before it was Bernice's hair. It was the tuft on the tail of the line. So they changed it. And there's the galaxies are not very achievable with your telescope, but M53 is fairly easy to find in a nice globular cluster. And I wanted to show you this, how it's in context. So here's Denebola and Arcturus, and here's the tail of the line, or Bernice's hair right here. And you can see M3, Corcoroli to Arcturus, and right below it, pretty much near this fourth magnitude star, is M53. There's M53. Okay, this is the spring diamond extended, because there's some constellations in the spring outside the spring diamond that I needed to talk about. So once you learn the spring diamond, you can start branching around it. Cancer is a dim constellation. It's fairly easy to find. It's off the screen here, but Gemini is right here. So it's between Gemini and Regulus, Castor and Pollux and Regulus. And Praesepe is a very bright open cluster that's real nice through binoculars. Another star that I didn't label, and I need to label that, is Iota, and that's on your list because it's a pretty double star with I think it's blue and yellow, two different colors. Some other important constellations here are Libra, which is another zodiac constellation, Serpens, and Corvus the Crow is a neat constellation right below Spica. And Hydra is kind of neat to trace out, especially the head's nice through binoculars, and Alfred's a pretty bright star. So anyway, that's the if you use the handout that Don's going to put in the chat session, I think it'll have this chart in it for you. I forgot to mention, up in the corner here is Hercules, and that's another constellation that I included in this. And you can see it here. Here's Arcturus and Corona Borealis, and Hercules is outside it. And the main part of Hercules to look at, try to find, and it's not real bright stars, but if you've got, I usually work in fairly light polluted skies. But if your skies aren't too light polluted, or you can get out in the backyard where you block the lights, you might be able to see the keystone of Hercules. So this is the keystone, and it's easy to find M13, which is one of the brightest globular clusters and most interesting, and that's between those two stars. And here's just a picture of it, and there's where it's located, M13. And in the if you do the handout, there's a list like this with the objects we've talked about. And I just wanted to mention that before you go out and start looking with your library telescope, to do a little map memory, study the map, maybe write down these some of these names, like Mazar and Alcor, Polaris, Boötes, and Arcturus, especially the first magnitude stars and the stars. Regulus, Corcoroli. It helps you to get around the sky, and makes the sky more interesting when you know the names and stuff. And I'm going to swap over to, I can figure out how to do it, to Stellarium to kind of show you the zodiac right now. Okay, so this is Stellarium, and Stellarium is a really nice planetarium program for your computer, for your screen. And this is current, and you can't see the stars because the sun's still up, so it's pretty accurate as to the. I'm gonna go ahead forward to about 8:30 to where the stars are down. And you can see the ecliptic going across here, and the ecliptic is what the sun, the moon, and all the planets follow. And we're starting, and you know it because it's a zodiac. So if you were born in the sign of the zodiac, that means the sun was in that sign during that time. So I think June is Gemini, and so next month I think Gemini is the I'm not 100% sure. Mine's April, which is the Ram, and then Taurus is May, and it's right below the horizon, and that's where the sun is. So, and then Cancer, Leo the Lion, Spica, and here's Libra right here, and here's Scorpius sticking up a little bit over the horizon. So you can see the ecliptic, and I was going to kind of change the ecliptic during the night. So this is, I'm going to go forward an hour, and you can see stars getting lower over here in the east, west, and higher in the east. And you can see the ecliptic's getting farther to the south as we get into the summer. And now you're getting into your summer constellations with Antares and Ophiuchus and the summer triangle up here. So you can simulate the night and see here's the moon tonight where it is. And here's Saturn coming up, and this is Capricorn. And in the morning is when your planets and the moon are up right now. And as you go forward, you're going to start getting into daylight. So if you've got some time and enjoy computer programs like this, this is Stellarium.org is an excellent program to learn the sky with. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rocky. So I did post out to both our Zoom and to our Facebook Live, the Stellarium website link, and I did actually the web version of it, but you can also obviously download it to your computer. And for those of you who would like to download the guide that Rocky was talking about, just go to librarytelescope.org/astro guide, one word, astro guide, and you'll be able to get that guide. I did also post that into both the chats and the Facebook Live for both. So if we have some questions here, I don't know if we have any questions from anyone so far. Let me see here. We're seeing right now, I think the people are just catching up with your presentation. So Rocky, this, it's really kind of pretty cool, some of the stuff that you're able to do with a library telescope. So I think darker skies obviously help, right? In other words, to be able to see the faint objects. But I know that you were talking about M13, which is in Hercules. I can see that from my yard in the light polluted skies with just like you say, get behind a tree where there's no lights in your face. Is that the way you do it?
Yes, and the brightest globular clusters are fairly easy to find. So are the to see with your telescope. So are the double stars. Galaxies, you really need some dark skies. Although M81 and M82 are pretty bright galaxies.
Right. So I would guess binoculars do help too, right? In other words, if you're having trouble seeing something, you can get binoculars. That will help, right?
Yeah, binoculars are great to use with your library telescope. So a lot of times you can find the object you're looking for with it, and then it helps you zoom into it with the library telescope.
So Tom, what's your one of your favorite objects? I know you're a Facebook guy, but you also go out and use telescopes sometimes to look at stuff, right? So when you use a library telescope, you're in fairly light polluted skies, right? So what do you look at in the spring?
Yeah, that's for sure. I live right outside of New York City, so there's a lot of pollution, light pollution there. I like the globular clusters. I mean, I really enjoy that. I haven't had much luck with any of the galaxies with it, but it definitely the clusters are fun to see, and you can get to them pretty easily.
Yeah, I think also I like some of the double stars. So if you go to the handle, the Big Dipper, Mizar and Alcor is just gorgeous. It's very cool to look at something. Of course, what happens, Rocky, when you look at it, what you see in the sky, if you're able to see that small star naked eye, it won't be what you see in a telescope because of just the way the mirrors bounce the light. You want to explain that, Rocky?
Yeah, yeah, they magnify it, and your library telescope goes. It's got a 8 to 24 millimeter zoom. Most of them do, and what you want to do is start out at the 24 millimeter, and then go up to the. And once you get the object in there, you can zoom up to the 8 millimeter side, which gives you about what 66 power or something like that. I don't remember the exact power, but that takes you from about 20 up to almost 70 power, and it'll split that. It'll split Mazar, and it'll split that the 3 stars that I've given you: Corcoroli and Iota Cancer.
Right, but it also flips it, right? In other words, it won't be.
Oh yeah, it does.
The mirrors, the way the mirrors work.
Flips it upside down.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little confusing. So if you're really wanting to buy a library telescope or use the library telescope to look at birds, you better be prepared to stand upside down if you really want to see them right side up, so to speak. So it's a little strange, but astronomers don't really care. It's the sky's the sky, and they'll take whatever they get. They just kind of adjust for that kind of stuff. So I'm not seeing any questions right now. So much out there. We've had, I think, reasonable good attendance tonight, and I think we're going to wrap this up. We're at the half hour now. We will record. We have recorded this, and tomorrow sometime I'll get this out on YouTube. You guys could help us a little bit with YouTube because we're trying to get more people subscribing to our YouTube channel. Once we get 100 subscribers, Tom has done a much better job on the Facebook than I have on YouTube. He's got 3,000 plus subscribers. But if we can get 100 subscribers, we can get a unique name for our library telescope program. And we're not that far off. So if you could help us a little bit with that, that would be terrific. So any guys have anything else to say before we sign off here? Rocky, what about you? Anything else you have to say?
No, just enjoy, not just looking through your telescope, but enjoy going out looking at the stars.
All right. All right. Tommy, anything else?
Yeah, I think I can agree with Rocky there. I mean, the weather's getting warmer now. Taking this telescope out is a lot more fun than it was when it was, 20 and 30 degrees. So and hopefully the skies clear up. We've had a lot of clouds here, but hopefully things clear up and there's a lot to see.
There you go. Well, thanks to both of you guys for helping us out again tonight. Again, June 15th is our next program. It'll be a library in California that has launched a new program. So if you're a library that wants to start a program or know a library that should start a program, they can listen in and find out what they encountered. And we really appreciate your time. Thanks, everyone, and see you next month.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.